We're on, yep.
Okay. Good evening. The regular meeting of the Joint Land Use Board for Monday, November 23rd, 2020 is called to order. I wish to announce that the Open Public Meeting Law, known as the Sunshine Law of 1975, has been complied with. The notice of this meeting was advertised at our reorganization meeting, at which time our official newspaper were notified. Copies are placed in the bulletin. Okay. We have everybody please join us for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jeff, I was going to say you're waiting.
Okay, Nancy, can we have a roll call?
Mayor Roach.
Here.
Councilwoman Hess.
Here.
Mr. Wells.
Here.
Mr. Vandergrift.
Here.
Ms. Jackson.
Here.
Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Ms. Tripoli. Ms. Tripoli.
Pat?
She's here. I know, I heard her too. Ms. Tripoli.
Muted. Pat, are you muted?
Mr. Pollard, can you hear us?
Pat, unmute your phone.
Why don't we do Mr. Dawson?
Present.
Ms. DiDomenico is here. Mr. Dukowski?
Yes.
Okay. Should I call her real fast?
I suggest before we start the application, to go back and see if we can get her.
Okay.
Well, when do you know? Okay, next. When we do the approval for the...
Yeah, do the minutes, and I'll call her name
Next is the
again.
approval of minutes of October 22nd, 2020. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Oh, was that Pat? I was Linda, but was that Pat also in there?
Pat, are you here now? Would you like to call her?
Can we take a...
Everybody, we're going to take a couple of seconds to see if we can get Pat back on.
We're going to do a roll call now for the minutes. Mayor Roach.
Here. Yes.
Councilwoman Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Yeah.
No? Mr. Wells?
I said yeah.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Vandergrift?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
And I have you out this month.
Yes. I'm sorry, yes. I was.
Okay. Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Stay.
Ms. Tripoli?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Linkowski?
Yes. Next on our new business, we have a continuance on application JLUB 20-10. That's Union Paving Contractors LLC on Bangor Avenue.
Yes, the attorney for the applicant did contact the borough and indicated that they, because it is a use variance, that they would prefer to put their case on when we're having live sessions. So they have asked for the matter to be continued for this evening, and that has been, that continuance has been noted on the borough's website. So this is continued until we get further notification that they want to proceed.
Next on our new business is application JLUB 20-11. That's SCA. 1955 Roll Road, Block 240, Lot 3.0, This is for a use variance.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Brian Lezouk, attorney for applicant for Madelman, Weinroth and Miller, on behalf of the property owner, Solomon Zia.
Okay, anybody's going to speak? We have Kate swearing in.
Yes, so this evening I have Solomon Zia, our engineer, Gary Civalier, and the contractor, Frank Rowley.
Okay, so if we could I get the witnesses to state their name and address for the record?
Solomon, could you please start?
Solomon Zia, 19 Blue Spruce Drive, Decorville, New Jersey, 0808181.
Okay, and the engineer?
Gary R. Civalier, 12 West Mantua Avenue, Winona, New Jersey, 08090.
Okay, and the contractor?
That is the
Frank Rowley.
Could you spell that last name for me, please?
A-L-E and Son, LLC.
Couldn't hear that. We couldn't hear the last name. Could you please?
It's Frank Reale and Son, LLC.
All right, could you spell for your alley?
R-E-A-L-E.
A-L-E. Yeah.
And Sons LLC. Okay,
And Sons, okay.
And Sons. Okay, gentlemen, could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give this evening will be the whole truth?
No,
I do.
Okay, thank you.
And Jeffrey.
I did.
I guess Mr. Does Mr. Lezouk want to present?
Brian, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Just briefly, I'd like to give a procedural history of this case if the board is not familiar. We originally secured use variance approval from the board on a bifurcated application. The use variance was to permit the proposed automobile repair shop and second-story apartment for my client to personally reside. That approval was granted in October of 2015, and we subsequently secured preliminary and final major site plan approval, which was memorialized in January 2016. Now, your zoning ordinance has a very unique provision that if permits are not pulled and construction began with a certain period of time, I believe it's a year, that the approval would expire. We're before you this evening not to seek an extension. I believe we're beyond that, but essentially to have the board reissue an approval on the original application that was approved, and I'll be happy to go through the particulars of, with respect to the use variance, the relief being requested. The property is located within your B2 commercial district. Now, interestingly enough, the B2 district does permit automobile body repair and painting. However, to my knowledge, there is no zoning district which specifically permits automobile repair facilities in the borough. At the last hearing, there was extensive discussion that this could very well have been an oversight on behalf of the borough, not recognizing automobile repair facilities, but be that as it may, we're still required technically to obtain a use variance from the board. Additionally, my client would like to personally occupy the proposed apartment that would be constructed on site. And with respect to the proposed site plan, again, I do not believe there are any amendments or changes other than what was previously recommended by the board and the county in 2016 when we were last before you. With that, I'd be happy to turn it over to Mr. Cavalier to point out some highlights with respect to the approved site plan, unless a board member has any questions of me with respect to the application.
Anybody from the board have any questions?
Well, there is an issue as to whether the use variance is still valid. And it's my understanding, and I believe that board's engineer also feels the same way. Use variances do not have a time limit; they run with the land. All the other variances which you got and the site plan, that was the one that was really under that 1-year limitation.
I think we just had one bulk variance for
One bulk
the height
variance
of
for the
the retaining
height.
wall, which
Yeah.
is defined as a fence in the ordinance, can't be over 8 feet. But was there, maybe perhaps there was a condition in that resolution that required the site? So that if there's no,
Well, you know what, that
is there
may...
anything in the resolution that would allow that to expire if the site plan wasn't?
No, it just, the condition of the use approval was basically the approval of the preliminary and final site plan approval.
Okay.
So that has lapsed, so I guess we should hear a little bit about the use variance.
Yeah.
Okay, and we probably would, I think the board is aware of the circumstances around it, but we just really want to get clarification from the applicant about the use of the apartment.
It's just gonna be for personal use.
You're gonna live there solely, Mark?
No, it's just gonna be for personal use.
Do you contemplate that if you don't live there, that the unit would be occupied by the person who's operating or managing the repair shop?
I mean, I don't think anybody gonna be living in there, just to have it there.
Yeah, I have a question. This is Howard Dawson. I have a question about that apartment. So that apartment will never become a rental? It will,
No.
at no point in time when you're going to rent it out, it will be for your personal use?
Yes,
solely,
it'll be for
correct?
personal use, yes.
And if I may address that,
So my question is, if you're not going to live in it, what's going to prevent you from renting it out later?
if I may address that, in the original resolution granting the use variance, it was acknowledged at that time that the property would not be a rental nor leased by Mr. Zia, and that essentially would be used for personal use incidental to the repair facility. So there would be no issue with a blanket restriction from any rental of that unit following any approval granted by the board.
All right, so at no point in time would that unit be a rental? It will strictly be for like personal use and office use, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Not without securing an additional use variance from the board.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
If you, Brian, if you could just, in terms of the use variance, could you just put something here on the record in terms of meeting the criteria for a positive and negative criteria for use variance? You did an excellent job back in 2016 when you presented. So if you could just kind of summarize a little bit, so we have something on the record.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. First, with respect to the positive criteria, I believe there's a basis under 40:55B-2I in that it would promote and achieve a desirable visual enhancement to the area. As it stands now, this is a vacant, unoccupied lot. Also, I believe that there would be a basis under 40:55B-2G in that this particular use would meet the needs of the residents with respect to auto repair facilities. And again, as I expressed earlier, although we are not requesting an interpretation of the zoning ordinance, I believe that the omission of automobile repair facilities was an oversight in the B2 district. It certainly would be logical to assume that automobile body repair and painting facilities should have included automobile repair facilities. And, with respect to the negative criteria, the burden is that there would be a substantial detriment to the zone plan. I do not believe that it would be a substantial detriment. Yes, this would be a deviation, but again, the B2 district specifically permits automobile uses similar in nature to what my client would be performing. Again, it does permit automobile repair facilities and painting facilities. We are, quite frankly, a use almost identical, but for the tools used inside the building.
Okay, so why don't we move on to the site plan approval?
Yes, I would turn it over to Mr. Civilier. Again, he has testified before the board. He was our professional engineer the last application, and I asked that he be recognized as our professional engineer and planner.
Proceed.
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
evening. This site, as you know, has been vacant for a very long time. It's approximately 27,000 square foot in size, and the proposal is to construct the 3,000 square foot 4-bay garage building with the office and storage area on the first floor on the left side of the building, proposed building, and then on the second floor the one apartment for the owner. This site will be serviced by water and sewer, public water and sewer, and stormwater runoff is handled by draining it into the rear basin that is proposed, which is a recharge basin. The plans that we presented are the exact same plans that we presented the last time, and these plans were brought into conformance with your engineer's comments at the time in their letter of, I believe it was 1/11 of 16. And we did receive from him a letter at the end of that saying that we were in conformance with the approval. We also revised these plans. I know that Jeff had brought up the question as to Camden County Planning Board approval. We had at the time that we revised these plans in March of 16 also revised them in accordance with the Camden County review letter dated January 20th of 16. We never resubmitted them to them because at that time we were trying to figure out when this was going to be built, and then, as you know, it never got built. So I will be making that resubmission to the Camden County Planning Board in response to their letter of January 20th, 16. We did do all of the things that they asked for, and I believe we're in conformance with their approval, so we will provide a letter from the Camden County Planning Board of approval upon receipt of that to the board. As far as the, I would just also like to say, as far as the negative criteria, I am a professional planner also. As Brian said, the kind of the crux of the argument is that it doesn't have a substantial impact on the zoning ordinance, the zoning plan, or the surrounding properties, and this use, I believe, would be very fitting and fit in very well in this area, and I don't think it would have any impact, but it definitely would not be a substantial impact to the zoning plan, the zoning ordinance, or the surrounding properties. I would also mention that I know there was a requirement for a security system to be added to the plans, and we did have a note on sheet 3 of the plan stating that the security system plan would be submitted to the Borough Police Department for approval prior to the certificate of occupancy being issued.
I see that on
We also had a note on the plan stating that Michael Nolan of the Lindenwold Fire Department had approved the plans, and we also had a note that on the landscape and lighting plan that the lighting would be such that some of the site lights would remain on at night for security purposes. They were all things that came up during the last approval in front of the board, and we agreed to add those, and they are on the plans that are submitted for approval tonight. And that's really all I have, unless someone has some questions of me.
Any members from the board have questions for Mr. Civilier?
Yeah, Howard Dawson, quick question about the security. Are you having cameras or just like an alarm system?
I believe that was left open, but that whatever the security system was that was going to be submitted, it had to meet with the police department's approval. So I can't really say exactly what that system is going to be yet, but it will be submitted for their approval and have to meet their requirements.
Mr. Dawson, with all of our applications, we typically ask, we don't specify exactly what they use, but we just ask that all of our new businesses and site plans go to the police department with their proposed security and surveillance measures and get them approved before they get a CO. That's a pretty standard thing for the borough right now.
I mean, we will have cameras in there, so yeah, I'm going to put cameras all around.
Okay, with regard to the fire marshal, one of the conditions of the last approval was that you were going to submit plans that would demonstrate the turning radius were correct for access for trash trucks and emergency vehicles. Did the fire marshal, it appears that he reviewed that. Was there a letter issued by him?
Yeah, well, it was an email on March 7th of 2016. We did show the turning radiuses on sheet 3 of our plans, and yes, he approved those turning radiuses.
I believe those comments were part of our original review letter, and they were addressed.
Oh, okay.
He did put the note on the plan here on sheet 3. I see it right here.
Okay.
I'm looking back. We did request that because the Lindenwold Fire Marshal was one of the outstanding approvals with the original letter, but it was taken care of. So they're good that way.
Okay, I'm just going to go through, because I do not have the plans in front of me, but the conditions of the preliminary and final site plan approval. Has the sidewalk along Laurel Road been illustrated on the...
Yes.
Okay, that has been done. Okay, in terms of the maintenance manual for the proposed stormwater basin, are we working on that, or is that done?
That was completed and submitted.
Okay, that's done.
Pretty much.
So all these about the...
Everything was done because we were ready to sign the plans basically once they got their county approval.
Okay, how about the soil test pit blocks? We're still
Soil
doing...
test pit's going to be during construction. When
The
they excavate
construction,
the basin,
okay.
we just want to make sure that the soil is good, and the groundwater table where they say it is, and the soil is good when they excavate to put that wall in.
Okay.
So the one outstanding, we did get a comment from Derek Leary, our construction official, regarding fill that was placed on site to bring it up to bring the site up to level. Nobody was really monitoring that. It was just coming in. What he wanted was compaction / geotechnical report to show that fill was installed properly before CO's grant, when they come in for the construction permits, I guess, is what he's asking for, right?
Yes.
Have any comments on that? Okay, so we'll make that a condition of disapproval, that there'll be a geotechnical investigation with regard to the fill that has been brought into the site.
they would want to contact Derek to see exactly what format that report would be. And I imagine it's
The
just
construction
a report, basically, it shows the soils compacted and installed in this and not just
Yeah.
haphazardly.
Because no permits will be issued without that.
With having that building on top of a retaining wall, that starts to settle is a good problem. I think Gary covered the county approval. We're going to resubmit that. Pretty much everything from the engineering letter, the original engineering letter, was taken care of. They were given waivers from the ESA, the environmental assessment, and the TIS. So there was no traffic impact report required. The only bulk variance that was, and Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but the only bulk variance was for the height of the wall, correct?
That is correct.
There's no setback variance, nothing like that. Everything else
Nope.
was per ordinance.
And with respect to the reason for the height variance, the statements that you made last time with regard to kind of addressing the difference, the slope of the property was what necessitated that height differential. Is that still true?
Yes, it is.
Unique to the draftable conditions.
Yes.
The basis of
Okay, so the only really conditions that remain either new or outstanding, the new one is the geotechnical investigation of the site with respect to the fill, and the other is also the submission that you're going to be making to the Camden County Planning Board, and it's in response to their review letter of January 24th, 2016. So you're going to resubmit to Camden County Planning Board, is that correct?
That is correct.
And then the last thing would be obviously the submission of the security system plan for review and approval by the borough's police department. So those would be the three conditions that either are new or remain outstanding from the prior approval.
Camden County SCD approval to Soil Conservation District approval. I don't know where that stands. I just wanted to. Pretty much everything in the letter that I issued November 12, 2020 has been covered, except for what's the status of the SCD permit, Gary?
The Soil Conservation District permit would have expired, so we are going to resubmit for certification again.
Okay. I don't have any further in my letter unless anybody has any questions or comments.
Anybody from the board have any questions? Okay, does anybody from the, I want to open this to the public on this application. Does anyone from the public have any questions? If you do, please state your name, your address, and your concern. Okay, I'm going to close to the public. All right, would anyone care to make an application? Okay, you got one more?
She usually sums up.
All right, I was going to, she already did, but all right.
Okay, so we have an application here requesting a use variance and a preliminary and final major site plan approval along with a bulk variance. And so if the board was inclined to, we heard the testimony, which is really hasn't varied from the testimony that was provided back in January of 2016. But in terms of if the board was inclined to grant this relief, it would, we put a couple of conditions on that, and one would be compliance with the Camden County Planning Board review letter, and you were going to resubmit to the Camden County and provide the board secretary with a copy. You would also be subject to getting the county SEC conservation permit. The next condition would be the geotechnical investigation of the fill soil that has been brought into the site, and we would coordinate that with the construction officer. We would also require the submission of a security system plan for the subject property for review and approval by the Borough Police Department. And then the last thing is that's still outstanding, which will only occur, I guess, when you actually begin the excavation, and that is that you're going to provide soil test pit logs and permeability analysis. Can you do that now? That's already what we did. That was already done without it being witnessed by the board's engineer, and so we had just requested notice so the board's engineer could be there.
We just want to look at the subsurface conditions when they excavate, that's all, just to make
Okay.
sure we have good sand there and that everything's going to,
So you would,
properly with that basin.
so the applicant would provide sufficient advance notice so the board engineer could look at the excavation of the basin to confirm the soil conditions. So those are that. So we have a use variance. A use variance will require supermajority, or the mayor and Councilwoman Hess will not be permitted to vote on that. So I think that we should vote on the use variance, if the board is inclined to grant that first, and then we'll do the rest of the relief in a separate vote.
I have a quick question. As far as that apartment goes, is it going to be noted somewhere that it will not be a rental and without the board approval?
No, that will be continued. Yes, that was part of the original approval, and that exact language will carry forward on this approval.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? This is for the use variance only on application JLUB 20-11. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Pat.
Nancy, can I have a roll call?
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vandergrift?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. Poley?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Lankowski?
Yes. Next, could I have a motion to apply the conditions set forth by our solicitor on the preliminary and final site plan for this application?
Could I clarify one of those points, please, before you vote?
Okay, this, with regard to preliminary and final?
On the security system, previously it was to be submitted to the police department for approval prior to CO issuance.
Correct.
That's still the case, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure of that.
Okay. So the new vote is basically for the preliminary and final site plan approval and the bulk variances and the design waiver about the loading area. Those were the three reliefs sought in this vote.
As waivers, yes.
Okay, with the conditions set forth by our solicitor, could I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll make that motion. Pat?
Craig will second.
Mayor Roach?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Wells?
Yes.
Mr. Vandergrift?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. Poley?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Mr. Lankowski?
Yes. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, have that. That's good.
Okay.
And you as well.
All right, next I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone public with any concerns? Nobody? comment from the public? The public portion is closed. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.